Okay. So we'll start today's class. Today's class is called the Magic Pelvic Bowl. We've got Irma on Zoom and Gareth with me today, and maybe a cameo from our cat Rebel. So the nice thing about this class is it really focuses on the pelvic bowl, which is probably our most important kind of center of mass, but also allows the energy force to kind of drive up from the ground and enable the rest of our body to move intelligently. So we'll start off by getting on to our backs and coming into a bridge. Just take a moment here to reset the spine and check for your triple S, so your skull, your scapula, and your sacrum, making sure they're all nice and neutral on the ground. And then we'll lift up into a nice bridge. Just take a few deep breaths here. And then if you have a block close by, what I'd like you to do is take a hold of that block, and I want you to sandwich it in between your left hip and your stomach, just coming up. And what that's doing, it's going to fire things up right away, but we're really kind of concentrating on the iliopsoas and getting that fired up. And in contrast, it's going to help fire up our right glute as well. Good. You can lower that left leg now, and we'll do the same on the right side. So sandwiching in between the right thigh and the stomach. It's really engaging that core and firing up in the left glute this time. Good. You can take some tiny pulses if you'd like. I know Gareth's hamstrings are on fire already. Good. All right, lower down into a regular bridge, and we'll just stretch out our ribs, or our wrists rather, as if you're holding a tray. And take some tiny pulses there, little glute pulses, and then we'll prepare for our first set of abdominals. So lower your hips down and hands, and we'll cup the hands behind the head. And what I want you to do is when you lift up, I want you to look down at your pelvis. So lift, exhale and lift up and collect the diamond. So looking down at the pelvis or that magic pelvic bowl, it'll help to engage and draw everything into center. Inhale and release. Exhale, curl up, looking down at that magic pelvic bowl, collecting in the abdominals. Inhale and release. Exhale, curl up. We're adding on this time, extending through the left leg. That looks good. Inhale and release. Exhale, curl up. Looking at that, yep, magic pelvic bowl, extend in the right leg. Inhale and release. Exhale, curl up, extend in the left leg long, and you can take your right arm and cross it over. Exactly, if you'd like, you can kind of grab those left ribs, kind of cinch them in so that you're just pulling them into center. Perfect. And what that does, Gareth, you can release. When you grab your ribs, it essentially enables just that reminder that when we're in anterior tilted pelvis, our ribs tend to project forward. So just giving that nice little feedback to keep them centered on the floor. So exhale, curl up, extend in the right leg this time, and cross over that left arm. And you can grab those ribs again and pull them into down and into center. Inhale and release. And last set here. So exhale, curl up, extend in the left leg, cross over in the right. And what you can do here is choose to hover or hover your right foot above the mat like a helicopter. Good. Inhale and release. Last one this time. Inhale, curl up, extend the right leg long. Grab those right ribs and hover the left foot off the ground. That looks great, Irma. Inhale and release. Now we're going to go into supine twist. So what we can do here is keeping your feet hip distance apart. You can just rock over your knees to the left, keeping pressure in that right foot as if it's digging down into the floor. What I want you to do here is you can come put your arms into goalposts, but you can take your left hand and bring it to your right frontal hip point or your ASIS and just encourage to push into your hand. That makes sure that we're getting that extension in the psoas, keeping the pelvis neutral. And just take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll do the same on the right side. Bringing your knees up and over the right side, pushing into that inside of the left foot. Goalpost your right arm, and you can have take the option to put your right palm on the frontal hip point of the left hip. Great. So we're going to come into our second set of abdominals. I'm sure Gareth is really looking forward to those. All right, so knees lift up to 90 degrees. Cup your hands behind your skull. Exhale and lift up, collecting in that magic pelvic diamond. Inhale and release. Exhale, lift up, adding on this time. We're going to twist an inch to the left and your right leg extends long. Inhale and release. Exhale, lift up, left leg extends long this time. Twist an inch to the right. Inhale and release. Adding on again, exhale, lift up, collecting in that magic pelvic bowl, extend the right leg long, twist an inch to the left, and you can take your right arm and press into your left knee. Just like this. Sorry. As if, like, push into it. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Inhale and release. Exhale, curl up, extend the left leg long, turn an inch to the right, and then, yeah, as if you're have two opposing forces, push into your knee. That'll really bring that deep core into action. Inhale and release. All right, that's enough of those. All right, we'll come around onto our hands and knees for quadruped. Just keeping in mind that we've activated all of these abdominals and our glutes as well. So just bringing that now onto your hands and knees. You don't want to tilt or tip in the pelvis and lose all that core engagement we just worked on. So I want you to bring your left foot back, keeping the toes on the floor. Yeah, extend it long, good. And then what I want you to do is put your brain into your left glute before we lift the foot off the floor and hover it. So we want to activate. And if you need help, you can just kind of poke, make sure it's activating. That looks good. All right, what you can do now is bend at the left knee. Yep. And then just do some little pulses here, right from the glute, and lift higher. Good, left knee down. We'll do the same on the right knee this time. So sliding the right foot back, keeping the toes on the floor, engage that glute, put your brain into that glute, and then lift the toes up, not tilting in the pelvis. Bend the right knee, hugging in the front body, and then you can do a few glute pulses here. Good. Knees down, we'll prepare for dolphin, or if it's too much for you, you can come into a downward facing dog. But we'll bring our forearms to the ground parallel, or you can keep them interlaced. Puff up between the shoulder blades, and then lift up from the fulcrum of your pelvis. Looks good, and you can keep your knees bent. What I want you to do is extend the left leg long, bend at the knee, and we're gonna go into internal and external rotation. Just wagging it out here. Good. You can bring that knee down, or foot down rather. Extend your right leg long this time, bend at the knee, and internal and external rotation. Good. That's wonderful. Left or right foot down and come down to the knees, and you can take a child's pose and just have a nice few recovery breaths here. Good. So when you're ready, we'll come to the top of the mat for sun cell 1. So before we start, I just want to kind of offer this kind of feedback with your hand. So if you take a diamond shape with your hands and just place it above your pubic bone, you can really start to collect and feel where all of those abdominals are collecting and harnessing into that pelvic floor and pelvic bowl. So coming into Tadasana or mountain pose, sun cell 1, so lift your arms forward and up. Inhale, hinge at the hips, exhale, forward fold. Step your right foot back, lower the knee, top of the foot. Inhale, raise your arms up. Really turning on that glute, making sure that you're getting that nice front opening stretch. Hands to the floor. Step your left foot back into plank. You can lower the knees, lower fully. Pull your chest back in through, making sure your shoulder blades are attached to your rib. And then exhale into downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward, bend, lower the left knee, top of the foot. Inhale, raise the arms, turning on that right or the left glute this time. If you need help with activation, you can just tap those left glutes, make sure they're on. Hands to the floor. Step your right foot back this time. Lower the knees, lower fully. Cobra, pull your chest back up and through, keeping the shoulder blades down. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left foot steps the top of the mat, met by your right foot. One more time here. So inhale, arms forward and up. Get a nice reach. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Left foot steps back this time, lower the knee, but not the toes. Inhale the arms up. Turning on that right glute or left glute, sorry. Good. Hands plant. Right foot meets the left foot at the back of the mat. Lower your knees. Lower fully. Pull through for cobra. Downward facing dog, exhale. Left foot steps forward and through. Lower your right knee, not the top of the foot this time. Arms raised, lift up. Really turning on that right glute, opening up that front seam. Hands land. Step your left foot back, knees down to the floor. Lower all the way. Cobra. Keeping that low back long. Press back into downward facing dog. That's great. So let's step to the front of our mat and we'll start sequence 1. You can take a water break anytime or come into child's pose if you need to. All right. So inhale, raise the arms forward and up. Hands plant, hinging at the hips. We're going to go into a left fingertip lunge. So step the left foot back. And we're just going to take a few deep breaths here. Just make sure that while we're in this pose, we're collecting in that pelvic bowl, keeping the front and back seams nice and taut. Now we're going to move into 3-legged down dog. So you can step your right toes back, meet your left, and then extend the left foot, activating in that glute just like we did in our quadruped position. And then just as we did in dolphin, hips internally and externally rotate. We can add on, when you come into internal rotation, you can set up as if you're coming into a plank and setting up for gate pose, and then back into downward dog with the hip extended. Do that a couple times. Good. All right. So coming into 1-legged plank, your right foot still hovering. You can hold the knee bent if you'd like. Pulse it a few times there if that's too much. And you can lower 1-legged plank or bring both feet to the floor. Good. So now, what I want you to do is you can bring your hands to the front of the mat. You can lower your head and rest it on that nice cushion. But what I'd like you to do is push your left hip point into the floor. I want you to bend at your left knee and then just pulse. You're not going to get much lift. You can lower this foot here. You're not going to get much lift. It's just the action of getting a little bit of pulsing action while you're in that prone position. Good. Take a nice few deep breaths there. Catch your breath, and then we're going to place both hands underneath our shoulders. We're going to come in and do some reverse push-ups, while keeping on our knees. So, and we'll push up. Good. And lower. Push up. Lower. Really squeeze those sit bones together and collect in that magic pelvic bowl. That'll help keep your push-up nice and long and keep you lowering together. All right, last one, lower the feet and we'll push back up into our happy squat once you push up. Good. Now we're going to turn to the left, to the back of our mat for a cross-ankled forward fold facing south. Good. Take a few deep breaths here. And then unravel your right foot, pushing down into that left foot. You can come into a tree pose, either placing the left foot below or above the knee, whatever's comfortable. Good. Okay, we'll start our second side at the back of the mat this time. So Tadasana, raise your arms forward and up. Place your fingertips on the mat. Step your right foot back this time for a right fingertip lunge. Take a few deep breaths here. Keep pulling into your inner abdominals, keeping everything nice and taut, keeping that back foot nice and extended and strong. Now what I want you to do is plant both your hands, step your left foot back to meet your right, come back into a downward facing dog, and look at your left foot as you raise your right, activating that glute into a three-legged down dog. Great. Hips internally and externally rotate, so bend at the knee. And you can come into that plank pose when you're coming into hip internal rotation. Oh yeah? Oh, we already did this leg, apparently. Switch. Good. Great, so we'll come into one-legged plank on the opposite leg this time. So left leg lifts. We're gonna hold there. You can keep your left knee bent. You have the option to lower all in one piece with your one-legged plank or plant both feet and come down. Again, either keeping your hands in that cobra position or make a nice cushion for them. This time, planting your right frontal hip point into the ground, bending at the right knee. Just start doing a few glute pulses there, really activating the glute. You have the option to take your right hand or your left hand and really kind of scoop up underneath that glute point. Just keeping an eye on time before we have to restart. All right, hands plant underneath the shoulders. We're gonna come into those reverse push-ups a couple times. So push up, keeping on your knees, keeping consolidated in the core and the glutes. Keeping the neck and the spine long. Good. Last one here, and then lift up into down dog, walk your hands back into happy squat, and take a few nice deep breaths here. You really want to sit back into the hips here, so your knees really aren't bent or coming up forward on your toes. You have a nice rest for your ribs right on top of your knees, and that really helps to open up the back seam. Turning to your right this time, coming to the top of the mat, cross-ankled forward fold here. Take a nice deep breath. And then unwrap your left foot, come standing into a nice tree pose, where the left foot is either above or below the knee, activating that glute so you're not pushing out to the side there. Great. Left foot can come down. And we'll start into our sun sal A's. So hands forward, raise forward and up. Nice deep inhale. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Plant the hands and either step or hop lightly back into a plank. You can choose to lower the knees or lower all in one piece. Pull through for your cobra or up dog, making sure those shoulder blades are nice and tight, pulling through your chest. Pull back into your down dog. Exhale. Bend the knees, come onto the tips of your toes, and then hop or step forward to the top of your mat. Do that a few more times. So inhale, arms rise forward and up. Exhale, plant your hands, step or hop back into plank. Lower all in one piece or on your knees. Pull through for cobra. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Bend your knees on the tops of your toes. You can step to the top of your mat or hop. One more time here. Arms rise forward and up. Exhale, hinging at the hips. Step or hop lightly back into plank. Knees lower or lower all in one piece. You can pull through for your cobra or up dog. And exhale, push back into downward facing dog. And stay. You can take a few nice deep breaths here. And pedal out your feet. Just imagine I'm kind of pulling up there. Just get a little bit more extension there. Good. All right. Step both feet to the top of the mat. And we'll start for our sequence 2. Good. All right. Raise the arms forward and up. Inhale. Hinge, exhale at the hips and plant your hands. We're coming into 3-legged down dog on the left side. So step the right foot back and bring your left foot into your 3-legged down dog. Keep the right knee bent if you need to, making sure you have that nice extension and you're not dragging in your arms. Step your left foot to the top of the mat, coming into crescent lunge, keeping that right knee bent. What I want you to do here is take your hands onto your frontal hip point. Just making sure we have a nice neutral pelvis. And then we're going to come into a left bent knee airplane. So we're already set up. We're just going to kind of hinge at our fulcrum point here, push off. You have the option to support yourself with the block like Garrett's doing, or placing your right hand on your left knee as a buttress. Good. And pressing into that left foot now. We're going to come up, standing, and pull that right knee into our chest. Come back into airplane. Again, supporting yourself either with a block or your hands on your knee. Pull through and up. Right hand flexes into the chest. One more time here. I'm getting a lot of activation in that glute. If you're wobbling, that's good. Press up through that left foot. Raise your right knee to chest. And then we're going to bring that right leg into warrior 2. So hands out, arms out. Inhale, exhale, reverse your warrior. Good. Inhale, exhale, warrior variation. Inhale, exhale, reverse your warrior again. You have the option to take your opposite hand and place it on that opposite ASIS. Just to feel that you're getting some feedback and pull there. Inhale, exhale, warrior variation. Same thing on this side. You can take your left palm on your right ASIS, just to give you some feedback there. Good. Twisting to the back, coming to the back of the mat, we're coming into right twisted crescent. So place your left hand down, and then you can open up through the chest there. Good. So lowering the left knee, we're coming into modified side plank with the left hand down. You have the option to keep your leg straight, or you can hover it. And the option on top of that is bring your right hand over your head and then bring the knee and the elbow together as if they're sliding across the same horizontal plane or a dinner table. I'll do that a couple times. Good. You can have both hands land. We're going to come into a right forearm side plank. So I normally bring my right arm parallel with the top of the mat and then into our right forearm side plank there. You have the option to do whatever feels good with your arm. Raise it above your head, fully extend, or on your hip there. And coming into forearm plank. So lower your left forearm, lower on the knees, lower fully, and come into goal post arms. You can lower your head. Now you also have the option to take your hands on the back of your head, just cupping as we would do in our abdominals, and just lift the head gently into the hands. There's not really any pressure there. It's just engaging the neck to elongate and going into those erectors. Good. So we'll come back up into plank for a moment and come into down dog. And we'll do our second side. So step your left foot to the top of the mat. So we'll start in a right bent knee airplane, supporting the hands either on the block or with your left hand into your knee. And then we'll come back into planting that left foot down into warrior two. Inhale, exhale, reverse your warrior. You can bring that left palm of your hand to meet your right frontal hip point. I'm just giving some feedback there. Inhale, exhale, warrior variation. Inhale, exhale, reverse your warrior. Inhale, exhale, warrior variation. And then we're going to cartwheel our hands to the back of the mat for right twisted crescent. So planting the right hand down into a lunge and then opening up in the chest wall there, extending the left arm long. All right. Bending the right knee and placing it on the floor. We're coming into a modified side plank with the right knee. Extend the left leg long. You have the option to hover it. Extend the arm either towards the ceiling or above your head. And then if you want to add on as an option, you can bend and straighten the knee and the elbow towards each other as if they're sliding across the table, keeping those abdominals pulled into center, engaging that pelvic bowl. Good. So coming into left forearm side plank, you can lower your knees, lower the left arm. I like to keep it a little bit more parallel to the top of the mat, and then press up into your modified side plank there. Good. Forearm plank, so meet your right forearm with your left into forearm plank, lower the knees, lower fully. And we can goal post our arms here. You can bend at your knees and just give them a nice windshield wiper feeling. Good. Placing both hands underneath our shoulders, press up into plank and then back up into downward facing dog. And we'll step to the front of the mat for some sun sal B. So inhale, raise the arms forward and up. Utkatasana, so chair pose, sit back in the heels and in the hips. Plant both hands, step the right leg back, or actually both legs, sorry, into plank. Lower fully or onto the knees. Hold up and through for cobra, keeping those shoulder blades clicked onto your rib. And then exhale, press up into your downward facing dog. Step your right foot slightly forward. Extend the left leg long. Then you have the option of stepping your left leg up and through or doing a lift switch and coming onto the other side into a lunge here. Raise your hands, inhale, turn on that right glute. Exhale, plant the hands, step your left foot to meet your back, right foot, lower the knees, lower fully, pull up and through for your cobra or up dog. Exhale and push back into downward facing dog. This time stepping the left foot forward slightly, extending the right leg long, not tipping in the pelvis or opening it. And then you have the option to step the right leg forward and through or come in for a lift switch. Good. And then let's step both feet to the top of the mat. And we'll start our sequence 3. So mountain pose, nice inhale, raise your arms up, forward and up. Exhale into chair pose. I want you to drive down into your right foot and stand up, or sorry, left foot, stand up onto your left foot, rise your right knee to chest, just like we did earlier. And then step that right foot out off your mat. We're going to just squat off the mat and kind of take that ground reaction force, lift the knee up into your chest. We'll do that a few times. It looks good, Irma. And Gareth, good job. Good. One more time here. As we lift the right knee, we're going to come into a standing twist. So put your left hand and grab your knee. And you can open up in the chest, extending your right leg or right arm long. Good. Now we're nicely set up to come into a half moon here. Extend, and then you can place your left fingertips if you need at the top of your mat. Keep that right foot nice and extended and taut. And then lower and plant your right foot. And we're going to come into these crescent lunge hops at the side of our mat. Taking that ground reaction force. Gareth's not feeling super peppy today. Good. All right, so coming to the front of the mat, we're going to come into dolphin with the left leg extended. And we're just going to abduct the left hip here. So moving it out to the side, a few inches, and back in. Perfect. Press up onto the forearms so you can pull yourself in to a left low lunge. Good. Then you can pull back into a runner's stretch here with your fingertips underneath your shoulder. And then you can rock forward into a standing split and just do that a few times. Last time, bring your right foot to meet your left, and we'll do the second side. So arms raised, inhale, exhale, hinge at the hips, chair pose. This time we're going to drive down into that right foot, bring the left knee up to our chest, step off the mat, hinge, do a nice squat, pull up into chest. Good. That a couple more times, and then we're going to come into that standing twist on the right side. So here we'll grab our left knee and open up in the chest wall and extend that left arm long. And then you can take it into a half moon on your right side here. Keeping the pelvic bowl nice and taut and that right glute on and activated. All right, step your left foot down and we're coming into those crescent lunge hops. On the sagittal plane, you're not coming into a full crescent lunge, you're just kind of taking that ground reaction force and keeping some spring. Good. And then coming in back to the front of the mat, plant both hands, coming into dolphin, either interlace your fingers or keep them parallel, and then abduct the extended right leg a few times here. Good. You can lower your right foot, press up onto your hands. Come on your hands. Yeah, there you go. And then come into right low lunge. Tapping that left glute to make sure it's activated. You can plant your fingertips, come into a runner's stretch, and then just float forward into your standing split on the right-hand side. So throughout, your ribs should be resting on your right thigh. Just make sure that you have that nice opening throughout. Good. Left foot steps to meet the right, and forward fold, and breathe. So take a sip of water, and we'll stream it all together. Actually, I have to go get my water. Good job. All right. So coming to the top of your mat, we're going to start in a left fingertip lunge. So inhale, arms rise forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, plant your fingertips, and step your left foot back. Breathe here, making sure the left glute is fired up. You can tap into it. Bend your left knee, come into a left low lunge, and then raise your chest and come into goalpost arms here. Opening up through that chest wall, through the pecs. Breathe here. Hands lower, plant them at the top of the mat, coming into three-legged down dog, right leg extends, knee bends, internal and external rotation of that hip. You have the option to come through and do those plank variations through your internal rotation. And then coming into our gate pose, lowering that right knee. And then modified side plank. Left arm extends up to the ceiling. Plant your left hand. I want to come into a one-legged plank now with the right leg lifted. Do that a couple times. So lower the right knee into your gate pose. Modified side plank. Hands down, one-legged plank. Gate pose, modified side plank. Left hand plants, one-legged plank. And then both either come into a one-legged plank and lower or lower altogether. And you have the option here to come into a locust or a bow. Pulling those abdominals in, kind of hollowing out the tummy, keeping the low back long. Yeah, that looks good. Both hands underneath the shoulder. Reverse push-up one time. And you have the option to take the left leg and thread it under for fallen triangle. Good. Right hand plant, come back into plank. And walk back into your happy squat, resting the ribs on the thighs. That's good. And then we're going to turn to our left for back of the mat, cross-legged forward fold. All right, unravel that right foot and then come standing on the left into your tree pose. Whatever feels natural, whether it's below or above the knee. And come put your hands into prayer. Now let's take that right foot and rest the ankle on top of the knee, coming into a figure four. Sit back in the hips. And we're going to interchange this with a curtsy squat. So bringing that right leg around, curtsy squat, coming into figure four. Just try and smooth that out. We've worked the glutes a lot, so expected to be shaky. One more time here. As you come into your curtsy squat, lower that right knee and come into seated twist. You have the option to come into seated figure four as well, but you can always come into a seated twist. Good. So unraveling 270 degrees towards the front of the mat, we're going to come into a funky dolphin. So lower that left forearm. And you can bend at the knee and externally rotate the hip there. Good, both forearms down. Take a child's pose here for a second. And then we'll step both feet to the top of the mat. And then we'll prepare for our half moon on the left leg, the top of the mat. Good. You can try opening in the hips a little bit. Keeping that leg extended and foot flex. Good. Step your right foot back into warrior two. Arms extend long. Inhale, exhale, reverse your warrior. Inhale, exhale, warrior variation. step your right foot to the front of the mat to meet your left. We're gonna bring all of that energy that we've channeled, come into our chair squat hops. So you can wag your forearms down or your, I've lost the ability to speak. Just take the energy right from the floor. You want to keep it nice and light, making that return of energy seamless and light and fun. Gareth doesn't think it's so fun. That's okay. All right. So we're going to come into chair pose. You can prayer twist to the left, keeping that right elbow on top, lightly pressing into the left knee. And then we're going to take our right foot to the side of the mat facing east for those side of the mat crescent lunge hops. Dance it out. Excellent. Come into warrior one, facing the front of the mat. Plant the fingertips. And then we can come into our runner stretch, moving into our standing L. You have the option to lift up when you're in that standing split if you'd like. You don't need to get much here, but just feeling that return of energy and a little hop there. And then once you're ready, step both feet to the top of the mat. And we'll do our last side. All right. So inhale, bring the arms forward and up. Exhale, fingertip lunge on the right side this time. Bring your right toes back. Just breathe in there. Make sure you're getting some nice elongation. You don't want to round too much in your back. Keep it nice and straight if you can. Good. And then lower the right knee into low lunge. Goal post arms here. Opening up in that front seam, that iliopsoas, opening up in the chest wall. Hands plant, three-legged down dog. Raise that left leg. And you can bend the knee, internal, external rotation, coming into that plank move where we internally rotate. Then plank and externally rotate and down dog a couple times. And then plant the left knee into gate pose. Modified side plank on the left side here. And then we're going to come into those one-legged plank and interchange that with a modified side plank. Good. When you're ready, come into plank, lower to the knees or lower fully, and come into a locust or take a bow. Hollowing out the belly, squeezing those sit bones together, keeping the low back nice and long. Plant both hands underneath the shoulders. Press up, reverse push up one time. You have the option to thread the right leg through for a fallen triangle. Nice deep breath there. Plant the hands, feed back the right leg, plank, and then walk back into happy squat. Good. Nice deep breath here. Take a rest. Don't round too much in the back. We want to keep things nice and neutral. And then turn to the right, facing the back of the mat for cross-legged forward fold. unravel that left foot and stand up into a tree pose. Take prayer arms if you need to. Gonna raise them, whatever feels good. Good. And then we're going to come into that figure 4 with the left ankle resting on your right knee. Sit back. And we're going to come into our curtsy squat and interchange those a couple times. Good. When you're ready, coming into that curtsy squat, lower the left knee, coming into seated twist or seated figure 4. And stretch it out there, roll around in the abdominals. Take a nice deep breath. And then unraveling 270 degrees towards the front of the mat this time. We're going to come for our funky dolphin on the right side. So lowering the right forearm, bringing that left hand to meet same level as the right elbow. You can fully extend that left leg or bend at the knee and externally rotate. All right, and then bring both feet to the front of the mat. We're going to set up for our right half moon at the top of the mat. Hinging at the hip. You can bend the knee slightly if you need to, keeping that left leg nice and straight. Foot flexed. Coming into left warrior 2, plant the left foot. Inhale, exhale, reverse your warrior. Inhale, exhale, warrior variation. One more time here. Inhale, exhale, reverse your warrior. Inhale, exhale, warrior variation. And then step your left foot to meet your right at the front of the mat. Inhale, raise your forearms forward and up. Coming into chair pose, we're going to do those chair arm swing hops. Keep things nice and integrated. Feel that return of energy and that light springiness. Good. All right, sitting back into chair pose, square arms twisted, the right side this time. Nice deep breath there. And then bringing our our left foot to face the west of the mat and do our dancey move, crescent lunge hops. And last but not least, we'll do our runner stretch on the right side this time, planting that right foot at the top of the mat, rocking back. And you can rock forward into that standing split, lifting up if you feel that's available to you. Good. Excellent. Good job, Irma. And then when you're ready, meet your left foot to the top of the mat, meet your right, forward fold. Breathe here. And then we're going to come into Shavasana and close off the class. This is Garrett's favorite position. You can either keep your knees bent. It'll help keep the pelvis neutral. You can keep your knees rocked in towards each other. You can windshield wiper your legs or just flat out fully and feel the heaviness, the return of energy coming from the floor. I want you to put that diamond shape that we created with our hands and rest it on your pelvic bowl, just to remind you of all the work that we did today. Keeping everything contained and centered to our magic pelvic bowl. lift up in your knees when you're ready. You can just rock side to side or do small circles from one side to the other and switch. And when you're ready, we'll sit up and we'll close off today's class. All right, thank you both. And I hope that wasn't too punishing for Irma the second time.
No, not at all.
It was definitely punishing for Gareth. He had to make an exceptional early wake up call to be here today.
Good job.
All right, well, thanks, Irma.